What's up, you guys? Welcome back to today's video. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're going to be talking about all the books that I read this past November. And yes, I did cut my hair. I know everybody's talking about it. Just kidding. So these are all the books that I read in November. I read a total of 6 books. Yeah, I think let's just get into it. I have like a reading vlog for pretty much all of these books I'm about to talk about, so if you want to see me reading like more in depth, you can just go back to those, but I'll go in order of what I read. Does anyone else just like forget how they rated books? Like I have to pull up my Goodreads while I do this because I kind of forget everything, which is not a good sign. Alrighty, so the first book that I read in November is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. So this is about a girl who is a struggling artist. She does not make a lot of money, and so she's looking for a new apartment that's a little bit cheaper, and she finds this one that's like outrageously cheap, and she obviously goes for it. And then she realizes her roommate is kind of funky. He only like comes out at nighttime. Obviously my roommate is a vampire, so she figures that out, and it just kind of goes from there. It sounds really cute. I wanted to get like one more kind of like spooky-ish book in like towards the end of October, but this book was just silly. Just silly, and not in like a manageable way. It was just too much. I rated this puppy at 2 stars. Like I thought the beginning was okay, but then the plot just kind of really went nowhere. Like she tries to teach him how to be a human being, but I don't know. And like once they actually started being together, then I felt like the main guy like lost all of his vampireness and was just like a boy. I don't know how to explain it, but I just thought they lost their chemistry like once they actually got together, and then the ending was just so bizarre. I could not handle it. It was just too much. Like maybe it would have been a 3, but with that ending, yes, it's a 2 star. I don't think I recommend this one, and yeah. Okay, and then I read something a little bit better. We went to The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. If you don't know, this is the same author that wrote The Inheritance Games, and so far I'm liking this series a little bit better, I think, just right off of the bat. This is the first book in this, I think it's 4 books and maybe a novella. I think that's what it is for this series. But this is the first one, The Naturals. So it's about a group of kids who are called The Naturals, but they all have like a natural ability that helps them catch serial killers. So it's kind of like they're helping out the FBI. It kind of ends up being like a young adult Criminal Minds. And our main character that we follow is Cassie. And yeah, so basically this is just like the very beginning of like creating the Naturals groups. And they find out a little mystery in this as well, which ties back to the main character. But it ended off really well, and there's a little love triangle in this as well, which I thought was super fun. And yeah, like I said, so far I'm liking it more than Inheritance Games. It's more interesting than what happens in that one, and I'm excited to read book 2. I'm hopefully gonna read it in December. We'll see. Oh, did I say what I rate this? I rated it at 4.25. I don't know if I said that. All right, and then we read a doozy. We read a doozy. A very anticipated read for myself. We moved on to Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. So this is obviously book 2 of the, I think it's the Empyrean something series, but it's the second following Fourth Wing. And obviously Fourth Wing took the whole world by storm, super popular book, which I myself really liked Fourth Wing too. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. So I really enjoyed that. I thought this was gonna be like a really good start to a new series. No, I'm just gonna be straight up. I did not like this book. I gave it 2 stars. It was so bad for so many reasons. And I do have a full spoiler video reading this book, so if you want to see like very in-depth thoughts, you can go watch that. But I guess kind of like my main bullet points, my main gripe with this book, and like I can't say too much because it's the second book, so if you haven't read the first one, I don't want to spoil anything, but it feels like the cliffhanger that we got on the first book like didn't even matter to this book, which is kind of annoying because that's the whole point of like having a cliffhanger, and it didn't really affect anything at all. Like yes, but no, I don't know. I just felt like it should have been like kind of a bigger thing. And there was so much info dumping in this book, but not like, you read like a different fantasy series and there's info dumping and it's like, okay, yeah, we have to get this like to build this world, right? But this info dumping was just so like it didn't make sense. Like it was just like words viewed on a page. There was just so much words and nothing made sense. And that's kind of like the whole idea of the whole book. Like this is such a long book, you guys. 600-page book, but the words are so tiny and the pages are so long that it literally took me like 5 minutes to read a single page. It took so long to read this book. It was so beyond frustrating. I'm really just like ranting and going off on this book right now. But the length, it was just too long. It felt like the chapters were really long just to make them really long. Like there was no actual substance in this book. It felt like, I don't know. Moving on to the next thing. The writing is so bad. It's so horrible. Like I knew the writing in Fourth Wing was bad, but it's even worse in this book. There were actual sentences that made me like shiver because of the cringe. It was so bad. And because the writing was so bad, it made like the spice scenes so, it just felt inappropriate because it felt like a young adult novel, and then like these spicy scenes that she's just like throwing in to throw in. I don't know. I'm not kidding. The last 100 pages, I was literally just skimming. I just wanted to be done with it so badly. So 2 stars for this one. I think I ripped it apart enough, but I just really did not like this. Violet was so annoying. I could not stand to be like in her head. The whole storyline with the romance was really frustrating and annoying. I don't think I'm gonna be picking up book 3 unless people are saying it's like really good. But I also feel like people are saying this one's good just because they liked Fourth Wing. It just was a sludge to get through and it was a really disappointing read. Felt like it came out too fast, probably really needed an editor. I think that's probably enough to say about this poor thing. But yeah, I think I'm gonna get rid of Fourth Wing and this book. And then we moved on to some real fantasy. But then I read Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, and this is actually a reread for me. I've never ever reread a book before. This is my first one, and it was so fun. I really thought that rereading a book would kind of be like repetitive and annoying because I already know what happens, but turns out I'm an idiot and I forget like everything. So this was kind of like reading it for the first time again, which was a lot of fun. So basically I'm doing a reread because I got about halfway at the beginning of this year, or maybe like the end of last year or something like that. And I just want to reread it so I can fully immerse myself in the world because I kind of forgot everything that happened like up to Queen of Shadows. So I just decided to restart it. But anyways, Throne of Glass, the first book in this 8-book series. I'm sure everyone already knows what this is about, but I guess like generally it's about an assassin. A really good assassin. You probably know what this is about already. I did rate this 4 stars. I'm reading Crown of Midnight right now, and you can just totally see the difference in writing like from this one to the second one. So just for that, it was a 4-star for me, but I am really liking this reread, and yeah. The next book that I read is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This book is a like modern day When Harry Met Sally, but the gender roles are reversed. So as far as I know, I've never watched When Harry Met Sally, but now I want to because I loved this book. This is basically about Ari and Josh. Those are our 2 main characters. And they start off by hating each other because they realize they're both sleeping with the same girl. And so it follows like years and years and years of their lives. They start off by hating each other, then they move to friends, and then they move to lovers, and it's so good. You just watch them through their lives and through their careers. So it's kind of reminiscent of like an Emily Henry book where yes, it's about romance, but I also get like a fiction vibe from it, which is kind of nice. The writing is very similar. I'm not like a huge romance girly, you know, like I feel like that's where I started with my reading, but I don't love to read romance now anymore as much because it just always ends up being like too cheesy for me, it feels like. But this was really good and the characters felt very real to me, and it felt like I was picturing a movie in my head. It was just very easy to picture, and I had a nice playlist going. Very good for this time of year. It goes through like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then to New Year's. So I thought this was really good, and I don't feel like a lot of people talk about this book, but I rated this 4.5 stars. I thought it was just so cute and so unique from anything that I've ever read before, and I would highly recommend this one. And the last book that I read this month is The Inmate by Frida McFadden. Technically, I finished this on like the last day or the first day of the month, but I'm just gonna include it in November because that's when I primarily read it. So I read this one on my Kindle, and this is about a girl named Brooke who is a nurse at a men's prison. This is also the prison where her ex-flame from high school is, and he is in prison because of Brooke. And basically the story just like goes through, it goes back and forth in timelines from the night that put him in prison and then the current timeline. And you piece together what happens up until the end. I rated this 3 stars. Frida McFadden has really good like just fast-paced thrillers that are bingeable, which I can really appreciate. But yeah, 3 stars. It was just like okay. I'll probably never think about it again. The main character was a little bit of a ditz. He just like kind of made decisions that were silly. in my opinion. And then the ending was just a little too much as well. It was a little too far-fetched, but I'm pretty sure all of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have a Kindle, but I would recommend her books. They're fun and fast, and you know, the writing isn't all that great. It's not like the best story you're probably ever gonna read, but they're fast and fun. So these are all of the books that I read in November. We got a solid 6 in, and that's a pretty good month for me. I feel like we had like good and bad mixed in and then some average. So I would say it's like a pretty good month. And again, I have like reading vlogs for all of these. So if you wanna see more in-depth thoughts, you can check those out on my channel. And I have a question before you go. Do you wanna see a December wrap up in January? Otherwise, I'm gonna do like a full end of year wrap up at the very end of December. So which one would you rather see December's books in? Very end of December, or just like a separate video in January? Because I would love to know. But that's gonna do it for today's video. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. I am excited about all the books that we're reading in December, and I will see you in the next one.